Hi, my name is James Shepard with ccsalespro.com, and over the weekend I got a request from a YouTube user, DJ1897, and he says, do you receive Transaction World Magazine? And the answer is yes. In the March 2013 edition on page 14, there is a list of essential merchant services sales skills, and he would ask that I briefly elaborate on that list. So first of all, let me give proper credit. This is a list that was in the Transaction World magazine. If you're in the credit card processing industry, obviously you would want to get a copy of the Transaction World magazine since it's really the only magazine in our industry. So I would definitely get a copy of that. But let me go through this list, and I'm going to tell you a little bit more about these primary sales skills and which ones I feel are maybe more important than others. The first one, prospecting for new merchants using the telephone. I do believe that is a very important sales skill. However, I feel like being able to prospect over the phone, and several of these skills have to do with calling and setting appointments. I think that so many processors are using that marketing approach now that I think that's actually less and less valuable. I think it's actually much better to go out in the field and just walk into businesses face to face. It's a lot more daunting, and it's a lot more scary, and that's why very few agents do it. But that also makes it a big advantage if you're willing to get out in the field and just walk into a business. Personally, I was out today, prospecting. I've been out, made a couple sales last week, and that's what I do. I just walk into the business cold turkey and walk in, introduce myself, and I feel like it sets me apart because there's so many agents out there that are calling. But yeah, that's certainly a great sales skill to have. If you're going to be calling, actually I'll get on to another one and then we'll talk about that a little bit more. Create and manage a prospect pipeline and track it with a CRM database. Yes, that's a vital sales skill. You've got to be able to have a CRM database and track what you're doing. Now at ccsalespro.com, we have our own CRM database that we use, but we also make some other things available. Close a phone call for an appointment. Again, I think it's more important to be face to face, but if you're going to be over the phone, yeah, that's a very important skill to have. Would be able to get the appointment. And I like the way they word that because the important thing is getting the appointment. You're not trying to make the sale over the phone. You're just trying to schedule an appointment. So make sure that you start by calling your local market. Make sure you let them know you're local when you're on the phone. But you want to make sure you're getting that appointment with them. Overcome objections in appointment setting. Obviously, that's the same there. Cold calling a merchant. And this is more walking in. And yeah, that's a very, very important skill. And I would even go a little further to say it's not necessarily an essential skill as much as the ability to just make yourself do it. Most of you that are watching this video have the ability to walk in and introduce yourself to somebody. That's not really the problem. The problem is having the character and the discipline and the drive to actually go do it. That's really the difficult thing. Persuade a merchant to let you review his statements. I think that is probably the most essential skill in a new merchant services agent because analyze a statement to determine pricing. I don't think that is quite as essential for a new sales agent because most processors, you can send the statement in and they will analyze it for you, but it certainly helps a lot if you know what you're talking about when you're out there. Prepare a competitive pricing proposal. Again, I don't think that's as important because you can send that in and have the processor do it. Ask good questions of the merchant on the first call. That's a very essential skill, learning how to ask the right questions. That's going to really help a lot. Conduct a needs analysis conversation with the merchant, finding out what they need. That's very important. Determine alternative processing solutions to address the merchant's needs. This would really get into your other services. You want to know what other services do I offer? Does your processor offer electronic check processing? Do you offer gift cards? You get into a lot of these other systems where you need to talk to the merchant and understand their needs. I'll give you an example. A person I was talking to today, as I was talking to them, I was focused on the price, but they started talking about how much they hate their terminal. They have a really old FD100 they don't like. So immediately my conversation switched to talk about, that terminal and how we would give them a free upgraded terminal because, you got to have the ability to recognize the needs of the merchant in order to move forward in the sales process. Explain or do a presentation about why the merchant should switch to your ISO. In other words, understand your value proposition, which of course is very important. overcome objections in the sales call and during closing. We have an entire webinar. For those of you who haven't seen it, you can go and search for CC Sales Pro Objections Webinar. So go on YouTube and search for CC Sales Pro Objections Webinar. We did a whole webinar. It was like an hour and a half long where I role played with one of my top sales coaches, and we just went through and we had agents send us a huge list of objections, and then we just went through those objections one by one and role played and answered those. Fill out the merchant's service application. Very important you understand the paperwork. So yeah, that's extremely important. It's essential that you understand the paperwork that you're working through. So before you go in to close the deal, make sure you talk to somebody. Review the merchant services application with the merchant. Ask for the signature. That's actually a pretty interesting skill set right there. Getting the person to, write their social security number down, to sign the paperwork can be very difficult. I think the important thing there is you have to build up a lot of trust in order to get them to give you that information. We have one more, sell the value-added services. Again, we talked about that. You got your cash advance program, gift cards, electronic checks, point-of-sale systems. The important thing here is no matter what additional services your processor offers, let me encourage you to do something. Just make your merchants aware of them. Okay, just mention it. When you're done with the sale, just say, hey, let me go through a few other services. You let me know if any of these interest you, Mr. Jones. Okay? What about a gift card program? Have you ever thought about that? Okay? What about electronic check processing? What about a touchscreen point of sale system? What about a payroll service? You can outsource your payroll services. What about an ATM machine? Some of these things, if it makes sense, just mention it. Just so you know, Mr. Jones, we have a cash advance program. You can get an advance on your credit card volume. So if you ever need a quick loan and you don't want to go through the bank, we have a cash advance program. Just letting people know that you offer those additional services will put you a cut above as a consultant, rather than just a merchant services salesperson. But also, if they need those services, they know to contact you instead of a different vendor. So there you go. That's the essential merchant services sales skills. So thank you for your request, DJ, and I hope that answered your question. Hope some of you got some answers to your questions and learned about the essential skills that you need. If you want to get more training material, just go to our website, ccsalespro.com. And thanks so much for your time today. Hope you have a wonderful day.